with Closers. I'm your host, Pat Clark, and this is where closers are born. Get ready for high-energy stories, game-changing strategies, and the relentless pursuit of success. In each episode, we dissect the art of sealing the deal, celebrate triumphs, and explore the grit that defines salesmanship. This is the ultimate podcast for sales warriors ready to conquer the business battlefield. What's going on, guys? Pat Clark here with another Community with Closers, and I'm super excited with our guest tonight. We're going to dive into it, guys. High energy. You guys all know him, my man, Dave Carroll. What is going on, brother?
Pat, how you doing, man?
I am doing well, man. So super stoked, dude, to have you here on Community with Closers. Dude, it's been a wild ride, you know, the podcast and just having deep conversations and friends I've had for years, right? And then just reconnecting through the podcast has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man. It was such a blessing. It seems like a while ago now, but when we were both in the Atlanta airport together.
Yes.
And you're like, dude, I'm here. We got to hang out for a little while, and it's always nice, man. I know, being in the exteriors industry, Pat, what did we meet? 9-10 years ago?
Yeah. It was at least 10, maybe more. But yeah.
Not only we're getting older, you're getting a little handsome, I'm getting a little more bald, but we were just talking before the show, like our kids are like 10, 11, getting older. And it's just crazy to see how fast it goes by, man. But I'm so happy that we could connect tonight and talk to this community of closers.
I know it, man. We're going to bring the fire for them tonight. So yeah, man. So what I like to do is, like I said, we got 30 to 45 minutes. And so it's jam packed for everybody, that way they can listen to it on the way to work or, in between jobs, wherever they're at. That's where it's at. So let's dive into it, bro. I know you got a lot going on. So let's talk about your story, kind of like, where it started, where you're at now, and we'll lay out the groundwork here.
Yeah, man. So for anyone that we haven't connected or met yet, my name is Dave Carroll, out of the Twin Cities, St. Paul, Minneapolis area in Minnesota, born and raised here. Grew up in St. Paul. My parents were actually married 3 times each. I have 7 brothers and sisters. Bit of a knucklehead growing up, little adversity. I ended up going to 9 high schools, got in a little bit of trouble. Really started straightening my life out. I hit a home run with getting in trouble. I was actually in prison from when I was 21 to 25. Got out right before my 25th birthday and just made the decision to change my life. The problem was that I'd never had a job before, so I didn't really know what to do. And I met some guys in my transition out, and I had got my first job ever in my life at the age of 25 at a window cleaning company. And what I realized was that, like some of us listening, I was the worst employee ever. And so I made it about 3 or 4 months at the window cleaning company, and my now wife, Barin, we decided to open our own business. We thought that we could do it a little bit better than the company that I had worked for. And so fast forward 14 years, we still own Lion Share Maintenance, 5 or 6 crews in the field when that thing's busy during the spring in Minnesota. As you guys know, probably not too many people are getting their houses power washed in January and February. This year has been a little different. It's been pretty warm, but
yeah,
that business has grown. I wore every hat in that business, from doing the labor to doing the bids to project managing to. I was never really the greatest guy with the equipment by any means. I was really good at buying it, even when we needed it or when we didn't need it. I was that guy. But I really found my love, my passion as we go through our career, as we were kind of talking about in the intro. I really found my love, sales always came a little bit naturally to me. Just I understood the process of asking questions, qualifying, meeting the prospect where they were at, and just trying to provide some value. My dad was a sales guy. I kind of grew up around the stuff. But where I really found my superpower was data and audience targeting. I think sales and marketing have a lot. They complement each other very well. You usually don't find someone that's really good at marketing and really bad at sales. There's usually like a healthy middle there. And so I was like to find the middle. But where I really found my superpower was in data and audience targeting. I found there was this company I came out with, Pat, you'll remember, this was like 10 years ago, Proposal, closethejob.com. Well, this is before.
I was just going to say that, dude. I was like, I remember you were like posting about this.
Dude,
Yeah.
so, I couldn't spell software. I'm 28 years old, trying to solve the world's problems like every entrepreneur. Oh, squirrel, let's chase that. And I couldn't spell software, but we came out with a tool. I remember I spent 40 grand to get this thing built. I had to sell a kidney. I couldn't spell 40 grand either. And we went and paid this guy from the University of Minnesota to tie together. It was the equivalent of like a Panda doc, or like a DocuSign, it could take your jobs, your bids, your pricing, and it would merge these things together and make it pretty and spit it out. And somehow we developed a piece of software for 40 grand that stayed stable for like 2.5, 3 years. Within 90 days, we sold this thing to 400 people for $30 a month. And looking back at that, it was nuts. And me being the bonehead I am, I tried to turn it into a CRM, got in a lawsuit with this staffing company from Canada. They don't let people like me into Canada, even though you can change our life around. But this was back before that happened. I was still a bit of a knucklehead. So I learned a lot though, like around that journey. But what I learned out of everything was like data and audience targeting, the power of a list. We started selling, Pat, you'll probably remember this. We started selling property manager lists.
Yep. I think I bought some of those, dude. I was like calling them. I'm like, dude, this is gold.
That was a really fun time. And we still do some of that at Dope. But the property manager data, we would do courses and we would learn from some of the older guys in the industry from when we came in, some of the Ray Burks, the Doug Ruckers, the guy that has been doing it forever and ever.
Yes.
And I remember some of these guys would do like the candy jar stuff. You'd go drop off the full
put it on the table.
Yeah. We got the engraved, the Post-it holders that we'd go in and fill up and just make the route. So we would just, like most good entrepreneurs, learn from our elders, steal like an artist, get inspired by someone else's, work or art or whatever. And so we started getting into data. We started selling lists and stuff like that. And at the time, my cleaning company was growing. We opened a data company. That thing was growing a little bit. And what I saw was like direct mail was really, really hard. We would have months at Lionshare, my company, we're sending 50,000, 70,000, 100,000 pieces of mail. And dude, that shit was work. Like real, whether you're doing EDDM or sending to a list and figuring out the design and the data and the targeting and the tracking and the printing and then going to argue with Karen at the post office to make sure you filled out your paperwork right. It was just a nightmare. And so I saw an opportunity where it was like, I don't like doing the Blockbuster, Netflix, Uber, taxi cab, but just, I believe that great growth, great, like evolution in business is done by identifying opportunities where just a lot of people aren't focused on solving a big problem. And what I saw with direct mail was just, it was too hard. These campaigns would take 2 to 8 weeks. And so when I got the initial idea for Dope Marketing, it was to solve my own problem. I was like, I don't want to take all this time and effort and money to do something that I don't really feel like is in control of. And so with Dope, we just got some inspiration through our background with data, with software, with targeting, with automations, with just really identifying an industry where, I'll joke a little bit like, Pat, the print industry is ran by 70-year-old fat guys who suck at golf, whose kids don't want to work for them. I'm just your nephew, Dave. I just really like this stuff and get hopped up about it. And so the inspiration, or where my career path led me to Dope Marketing, or to founding this company, was we wrote a piece of software that could do postcards, handwritten notes, and gift boxes at no minimum order. That company is just, we're so blessed and so humbled. We just hired our 60th employee. We're our 8 figures in revenue already in our 3rd year in business. It's such a blessing because we've really found a way to take a different approach of something that's been going on for a long time, implement some technology, implement some automation. And just like most growing businesses, you're as good as your team. And so we have
that's exactly right.
We got a brand. We got to, I can do I can get online and get on stage and explain a problem and try to help people with it. I feel really good in through my career, finding my role there. But this company, as fast as it's grown, like we'd be nowhere without the people behind the scenes that are really, putting this thing together.
That's amazing, dude. But I know, like, you know what I mean? Like you said, you get inspiration, you try something, you created something that wasn't even in the market yet, right? You created this thing and you knew it worked because of your past companies. Like that was the launching pad, right? It was like, you know this, okay, let's dive into it better. Let's tweak this stuff. And now let's give it to other people and help them be successful, right? And see the results that you were seeing through your companies. And that's amazing, dude. Like the data's there, but who has the time to go do it? Who has the time to pull these lists, right? Like we're crazy entrepreneurs, we're business owners that don't have a team yet. Why don't you link up, right? Like I talk about this a lot now. Like I'm getting older, right? I'm getting gray hair now, right?
Okay.
And so it's like, yeah, back in the day, I was like, no, I can do this on my own. I can, you know what I mean? But no, why? You know what I mean? Why not link up with somebody or a partner vendor or something like that to carve, you know, your learning curve way down? That's somebody that's already done it, that really loves it. Have you come in, like even have you come in and speak at like their company, you know, meetings, whatever it may be. I remember leveraging a lot of people, like we were talking about the OGs, right? Like Doug Rucker would be on some of my calls, right? Ray Burke, I would have him on some of my sales meeting calls.
Yeah.
Like, why not? Why do I got to be the guy that has to bring the stuff every time? You don't have to be.
And we don't need to reinvent the wheel either. I think so many times we want to get stuck in our, you know, I always joke like the E in EIN stands for ego. You got to get out of your own way. Like, great, you started this. It's your business. Everyone from high school thinks you're the man and you're balling and you're doing whatever.
Yes.
But it's just like, you know, you got to be able to give up control. And I'm a bit of a broken record, so I say this a lot, but like the most important number we'll ever hear in our life is 1440. It's how many minutes you got in the day. You got to eat, you got to sleep, you got to shit. Excuse my French, but like there's some minutes that you have to allocate no matter what. And I think it was Gary Vee that said this, and I believe the number is actually lower. But if you find employees and team members that can do 70% of what you would do, they don't have equity, they don't have ownership, they're not getting distributions, they're showing up, you're buying some of their minutes during the day to give them a job to help solve the problem that you came up with your business for. But it's like when you look at, you know, the people around you, the team, the people that have been doing this for a while, so many times as an entrepreneur, we get caught up on like needing to reinvent the wheel or come up with, just like, again, we said it earlier, steal like an artist. Look at what the people before you were doing. And like, I got some great news. We all bleed. We all breathe. You can literally wake up earlier and go to sleep later and do just as good of a job as the person who's been doing whatever you're doing for 30 years.
Yep. That's 100%. And I think that's the reality. Like we got to look at, you know what I mean? Because that's it. Why not? Why not do that? And I think, you know, with the internet and what we got going on now, you see a lot of it, right? Inspiration. And then it's like, ooh, that's a really good idea. And it's a different spin, right? And I think some people, you know, you may speak and say the same thing that I say, but you might say just a different tone or a different way. And guess what? You grab the audience because you put it in a different way. It's the same stuff, right? But you're hitting it a different way at that different level, business owner, whatever it is, and they're going to take way more away from it. And I think that's key because we've heard everything. And as business owners and entrepreneurs, we know what we need to do inside. We do. But the problem is we don't do it. We don't execute on it a lot of times, you know, because it might be that season of business and you might not be there as an entrepreneur. Absolutely. So that leads me into my next question with you, Dave, is like, you know, when you were like leveling up your companies, when did you level up yourself? Right? Because we had to go through those things a lot. Yeah. I know we have very similar backgrounds. And so we had to level ourselves up before we can level the team up, before we can get 60 employees, right? Like, what did that look like for you?
Man, it's been a long journey, Pat. Like for me, I always used to say like selfishness always had like a negative annotation when it shouldn't, you know, like, because if you can take some of those minutes you have during the day and spend them on yourself, you know, the first person you got to deal with during the day is staring at you in the mirror. Like you got to get right with that one before you can do anything for anyone else. And I used to take that for granted a little bit, to the point of like, you know, I didn't share this with the audience yet. Some of us that are connected, we just had our 5th child. I got a big family like Pat. We just had our 5th child in this summer. And so being a parent, I like to always go back to like, you know, with your first child, it's one thing with your significant other, your husband, your wife, whoever. Yeah. But like when you have that first child, you realize that, at least for me, I truly found something in this world that I love more than myself. Like with my wife, don't get me wrong. That is my human. That is my person. Like there's no question. But there are times where like we could disconnect or just do things on our own without quite thinking through like, Barin does not need me for everything right now. Where my daughter, she just turned 11 last week, is like, I remember looking at her as a new father, like, first off, like, holy shit, this is real. But then like this little person. And so there's like, I like to say like, we have chapters in life. Some chapters are a couple weeks, some are a couple months, some are a couple of years. My evolution, I try to pride myself on being a pretty self-aware guy, but not self-aware to the point for years that I knew really like what I wanted to fix or what I wanted, not even fix. Cause like we're all broken to a point, but it's like perfection. It's the work towards perfection. It's not meeting the goal. It's the journey towards the goal to get there. So when I think about the chapters in my life, really towards like self-improvement and wellness, I was a wild man. I was, out of town, traveling, late night networking. For anyone that's known me the past 10 years, I was not the most like boring guy to hang out with out of town. Yeah. And what I found is as I got older and just realized, like how much relationships really matter, how you're carrying yourself, how you represent yourself, the cliches in life. You are the byproduct of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. And for me, my journey towards real wellness or real self-improvement started about 2 years ago when I made the decision to stop drinking. I was never, Mr. like growing up, pop a beer when I get home type of thing. But my addiction or my issue is like when I got out of town, I'm half there for work. I'm half there for unwind. And we're going out. We're doing the thing. We're staying out late. I'm the guy you saw at the trade show that your wife might not have wanted you to hang out with the whole day. And I used to like, I'll be 200% honest. I used to kind of like pride myself on that shit. Like that was kind of like my MO. Yeah. And like most things in life, you kind of look back, you reflect, and I'm not a big guy on regrets, but like all of us, I would have probably handled myself or done a couple things differently as in my career, my path. Sure. But I say that to say this, where it's like, one of my big aha moments was, it's fascinating. We go back now, we got some video team that we put together over the past couple of years. And I look at like me, like 2.5, 3 years ago, and like my video crew calls it Fat Dave. It was like face meat, dude. I'm like $175 right now. I was like 200 pounds, and I didn't have a wellness goal way to just lose weight. Yeah, but it was just to be like healthy for my kids. And so I think my journey towards wellness. What happened to me before I decided to stop drinking was I was in this mastermind group. It was one of those really high end ones, 60, 70K a year. This was 3 years ago, and I remember getting around a bunch of people. What I thought were very successful. These are people, the Rolexes, the nice supercars, the stuff. And these were great guys. I still talk to some of them to this day. Yeah. But it was kind of like that group of like second marriage, Instagram girlfriend type thing, private jet life. And we were starting to get some decent valuations on the businesses. We were making some dough. And I remember looking at myself in the mirror one night and I was like, is this it? Like, this is what I'm chasing. I'm hanging around guys that are 10, 20 years older than me. They don't seem that happy with what they're doing, but it's the money. They're getting it. And I used to think that was it. It was like, what's the win? What's the amount? What's the dollar amount that I can?
And there isn't, right? There isn't.
It doesn't exist. And it's different paths for different people. Yep. I'm very blessed and fortunate to have some really, really, people that some of you guys might know or recognize, like me and Jesse Itzler have gotten super tight over the past 2 years. I consider him like a good friend now. And this is a guy I just used to see on the internet and shit. But it was like, you see what people are doing that have really, what you get to pick your definition of success. But it's like these people that I look at now that are successful, they just get to choose how to spend their minutes better. They get to choose what to say no to. And so, I never want to go on a, pick what makes you happy. Life is tough. You should do what you like, what you enjoy, that motivates you. I want, I want everyone to smoke weed out of their gun with their husband in their safe place and do whatever they want that makes them happy. But what I've truly found for me some of the things that I've gotten into that have really helped my path towards wellness is I really got deep into running. I run 4 or 5 times a week. That's like my pain cave, my spot that I can go to. Really have gotten into some like really cool recovery stuff. The saunas, the cold plunge stuff, the IV stuff, just really tracking like the Whoop, the tracking, the sleep tracking, that just optimize.
Hey, you like the tracking metrics, right? You got the ring yet? You got the ring yet? You get the ring and it like
so I actually, it was Jesse bought me the Aura ring, and I can't. I got me and my wife don't even do rings. We got the tattoo or whatever. It's hard for me, so I got the Whoop.
Okay.
The band, and I love it. I found that I was getting a little dependent on it. Like I'd wake up and I'd be like, how did I sleep? And it was like kind of determining my day. But again, it just goes to those points, those awarenesses. One really dope thing that I got into, and again, without being too much of a Subaru driving hippie, yoga and meditation.
Yes.
Been
dude, so good.
Dude, you just go back, like humans have been around for a while, and you just got to look at the stuff that people have been doing for a couple hundred years that, sure, the outreach has changed. There's videos, there's content, there's stuff you alluded to, Pat, like the internet, but you start getting into these things that just like the real successful people have been doing for a long time.
Yep.
Life is pretty simple if you allow it to be.
And that's exactly it. I think we overcomplicate it, right? But I know in the beginning, dude, like, and we got all waves of businesses, following community with closers. And it's like, you do have to be obsessed in the beginning. And I think like you go through those things, right? You got to be obsessed. I remember like doing all the free stuff on Google and the ranking organic. You remember those days, right? Like before Facebook and like we had forums.
Forums,
dude.
You kids nowadays.
They got it so easy these days. You know what I mean? That's the way I feel. But like we had to do that. And you have to be obsessed. But I want to like touch a little bit on this because I think this is so important. I was so rough on my body. Like I worked a lot. Like if you can ask my wife, like, you know how it was. We were 7 days a week, like working weekends, nights, day, whatever it was to make it happen. And now we're at a point now it's like, okay, what's really important? And it's our kids, it's our family, it's the family time, it's building, around home. And it's like, dude, I like staycations now. Me and my wife will just sauna, you know what I mean? Tea, we have our routine and it's really, really good. But you go through seasons. And I heard this actually from Magic Johnson and he was like, dude, 3 years. And he went to his wife and he was going to start a business and I forget exactly what it was, but he's like, give me 3 years. I'll be all in for 3 years. And they, you have to make sacrifices. And I think that's where we're kind of in the season this time is like, I got 3 years. I took like kind of, I don't know. I took a couple of years off. I'm going to be honest, right? I took a couple of years off. Sure. And so now you're in those seasons and I'm like, give me 3 years. I'm going to hustle for the next 3 years. And then that's it, right? And then we'll take that break or whatever it may be. And so for people watching right now, it's like, take those times, be present at home, right? I know for me, I wasn't, dude, I failed a lot. And I was like, work. I had to provide and you do, but definitely take those moments, right? That you're with your family and all those things. I think it's really important. I see you doing that, Dave, like, with your kids, you're bringing them to the trade shows. They're loving it. They're having fun. Like that's what it's all about. Is amazing.
Just exposing them to it. And especially, when you get the opportunity, I love the transition of, I remember our kids coming up, you get the opportunity to just bring them around so they can see what you do. But then as you evolve, I know like one thing I was always very humbled by is being able to take my kids as they get older to see me speak or present somewhere and just what that can show them with the confidence. We joke. So our middle, his name's Nipsey. We go in the cold plunge in the Carroll household. Nice. And Nipsey takes this bucket and he'll put it in the basement. And one morning we're like, Nip, what the heck are you doing? He sets the bucket down. He puts the blanket around him. He goes, I'm in the cold plunge. And it's just like they see, this stuff, our habits, these things, and our kids pick up on it. Like if there's one truth in the world,
they do.
These little creatures are going to figure us out. Like they're around us enough, how we are, how we operate, how we communicate, how we treat people. And if I've learned anything as a parent of 5, it's that, my belief is that all these little little kids, they all have a soul. You know, have they done this before? Have they done a couple trips? You know, you see it, just the
You
way that
do.
your children are. And what I see is like the things that they pick up on or where they communicate. I don't know any of you parents watching, but if you ever heard like two of your older kids like talk really sharply to each other, and it might sound like how you and your wife have talked to each other before, you're like, oh shit, we got to go on that a little bit.
What did I create?
Yeah, no, they're a lot like us. How did this? And so like
Yep.
the, you know, really, really, really being intentional. I said this before. I'm not a big guy on regrets. I think life happens for a reason. I believe that we all have a path, you know, that we get to choose our direction in life. But I think it's kind of like, you know, planned out for us a little bit. And I feel like with our children, especially, putting that phone upstairs on the charger when you get home, taking those minutes, just not saying no when they want to, you know, play. One of the things me and my son did a commitment as on their last break was just like 100 catches a day. Rain, sleet, hail, snow.
Love it.
We go out, we throw the ball 100 times. And he just comes and it's like, Dad, catch. And what's my instinct half the time? Like, I'm tired. I'm busy. I'm doing. No, it's those non-negotiables. You know, we named our fifth Kobe. Exactly. We named our fifth Kobe. I joke because we got a starting five. Kobe's the greatest, and clearly, like, I can't miss. We're doing something right. And
that's funny.
With Kobe, one of the things that I was so inspired by Kobe Bryant, you know, every season he would physically have a contract and he would sign it with himself, and he'd make a promise to himself with non-negotiables. And I think one of the really things that I've learned, Pat, for me, it's been really powerful as a parent is you just have non-negotiables. You have non-negotiables with your husband or wife. You have non-negotiables with your kids. You have non-negotiables with the core values of your business, and just a thing that you live by that you can go back to, that if it doesn't fit in that bucket, if it doesn't feel right, then like it's probably not.
That's so good, dude. So good. And I know we can jump on that tangent and like dive into that because there's so much to unpack there. Sure. But so to close it up, man, we want to close this strong. So I want to talk a little bit about, you know, marketing. So, you know, people are slow. It's a little different this year, right? We have election years. Some years are great. Some election years are down a little bit. Yeah. So I want to encourage people, like, with their marketing, they have to have marketing stamina. And I know a lot of people, you know, they contact me daily and they're like, man, marketing's not working, or this, or, you know what I mean? This is down. And I'm like, so what are you doing, right? What are you doing as the business owner or coach of your team? How are you guiding the team? Because it always goes down to that one person, right? So let's speak on that a little bit of, like, you know, maybe some of your companies, what you had to do as a leader, like, to get the whole team on board, right? To start getting it, because you gotta be all in. And I know obviously we have sales boost coming up, and that's an opportunity to get the whole team stoked, you know what I mean? Man. But, you know, what are some of the things that you did as a leader just to get your team like up and going? What does that look like now for go time in like less than 30 days?
So like there's some things in life that we're in control of, some things in life we aren't in control of. One of the things that we are in control of is our brand. The brand of our business. And when times get tough, you know, our friend Mark Cuban will say, sales solves everything. Well, people got to know you to buy some shit from you. And so when you have your brand, and when you're looking at a year like this year, you know, in the home service space, Google and Facebook leads are up anywhere from 100 to 400% in some markets cost-wise. Some of the different advertising channels are getting a little bit more diluted. You know, TV and radio are still pretty expensive. But for the newer companies, the smaller companies, the super local companies, can be tough. And so there's an exercise that I really like to look at for anyone that's been open over a year. Little tip, trick anyone can take from this. Really simple exercise to use. You go to the jobs that you did last year and you put them all in a spreadsheet, the name and the address of the people. And you highlight that spreadsheet and you sort it by zip code. And you want to take your top 3 zip codes and you look at like, what jobs were you doing in those zip codes? So you get your spreadsheet. And again, listen to the re-recording, rewind this, but I promise you this is super simple. If you can't do it, probably me or Pat's 11-year-old can figure out how to do it, because I think they're smarter than most of us. Yeah. But the idea is the data in your business will tell a story if you allow it to. And so if you simply look at where can you find consistencies, years like this year, you're blocking a little bit more than you're tackling. And so when you want to look at what historically was working well in your business, it's not that you can't come up with new ideas or go market your brand, but when you can really look at like, what were you doing well last year simply by the jobs that you were closing? You want to look at the spreadsheet and you want to see your top 3 zip codes, 5 zip codes if you're in a bigger market. You can go as big as small with this exercise as you want to.
Nice.
But then you take that list of jobs and you upload it into Google Maps, just like if you were driving somewhere. And it'll show you all the pins of where your jobs were. And you're simply trying to find the clusters in the neighborhoods where you were working, because there's some very interesting statistics specifically in the home service space, but this goes for a lot of local businesses. The average business is getting 2 to 4 touches on their ideal customer. A touch meaning Facebook, Google, LinkedIn, TikTok, see a sweatshirt at the gas station, see a yard sign, door hanger, truck, a touch. Touches that value, but the average local business is getting 2 to 4 touches.
Dang.
Fair to say the world is a little bit busier place than it was 10, even 20 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
So what our friends at Harvard taught us is that it takes 7 to 11 touches for a cold consumer to remember a brand. And so when you look at your top zip codes and you look on that map, and some of your CRMs do this, the House Call Pros, the Jobbers of the world, there's a ton of great CRMs out there. But the idea is like any map that you can look at to see the density of where your jobs are historically, last year in your business. And then you have to look at how can you align your different marketing touches from your advertising and your sales channels to say, we found this neighborhood and in April or March or May of last year, we did the majority of our work, or this was our top neighborhood. You probably grew up where you work, or you have a little familiarity of why you start your business where you start. Not many people just like move to a new town and start a business tomorrow. Yeah. And so like knowing what you know about those areas where you have clusters of jobs, what consistencies are you finding? People get really like targeting and data, and they get a little like analysis paralysis here. I'm going to give you some of the best advice you've ever heard about data. There are so many things that you think matter that don't matter. And I'm talking to people that service homeowners right now. If you own a home service business and you're doing anything from power washing to pooper scooping to lawn care to roofing to pest control to HVAC to plumbing to electric, it doesn't matter. I'm going to save you so much time on targeting from the next thing I'm about to tell you. Let's be dramatic about it for a second. All you need to worry about is the value of the homes that you're servicing. Doesn't matter how old the people are. It doesn't matter how much money they make. It doesn't matter how many kids they have. It doesn't matter what color their Tesla is or how long their grass is or what their dog's name is. None of that stuff. When you understand that 9 out of 10 Americans, the biggest financial investment they will ever make in their life is the purchase of a home. The second, third, and fourth largest investment they'll ever make. It's not vacation. It's not a new pet. It's not school for the kids. It's not braces. It is maintenance, improvement, and upkeep to that investment that they bought, that home. The average American will live in their house for about 5 to 7 years. So if you simply understand the zip codes you're working in, the neighborhoods where you have density, the value of the home in those neighborhoods, the average value of those homes. I can tell you in the Twin Cities, it's a home over $525,000. That's what we want. I don't give a shit where it is. As long as it costs that much, I know that those people are more likely to maintain that home because regardless of their income or what I can find about them on a list, I know they can afford that house. And 8 out of 10 people that own a house that costs that much are going to keep up with the Joneses. They're going to maintain that property. They're going to do all that stuff. And so when I challenge everyone watching, listening, the live, the replay, while you're on a job site, driving to the truck, going to the gym, whatever, think about how you can allow the data in your business to tell a story. And this year, a year of blocking instead of tackling. We got elections, we got madness, we got the world is happening all around us. We're not in control of that. But what we are in control of is where we allocate. Our marketing dollars have value, right? But what has more value than our marketing dollars? Those 1,440 minutes that we have during the day. And so if you can allocate your minutes to getting your marketing message to enable your sales team members to be able to have more meaningful conversations because you're investing more touches in the neighborhoods of people that are more likely to hire you, to create better conversations, to answer more questions, to go through your process, you will find a lot more success in a bit of a less aggressive year like this year. I'm not telling anyone to go spend $1 million on marketing or whatever, because you got to let your data tell a story. But if I was in a spot where marketing's a little tight, maybe I'm a newer business, maybe I'm looking to grow a little bit, but I just don't know the writing on the wall, I'm looking at the data in my CRM, in my business, the neighborhoods I'm servicing, where I can find consistencies, and I'm double, triple, quadrupling down on the services that I'm providing previously and how I can educate more same or similar customers.
And that is free, freaking free to do, right? And then that's where the Goya comes into play right there, baby. Get off your butt and make it happen. Dude, like the weight was lifted off our shoulders when we did that exercise. Like we looked at the data, it told the tale, right? And it was like, holy cow, wait a minute. I have 2 clusters. And I remember this. I was building out my radius and I was like, I had 2 clusters in the very beginning. And I was like, wait a minute. I need to hire another one of me, put another one of me here, and then me here. And then, dude, I had friggin' 6 territories, 6 TMs, and they were selling each one, and it was nuts. So that is gold. So you guys watching, make sure you hit the replay on this. Share it with a friend because that is gold, dude. Gold. Love it, bro. Well, thanks for hopping on, man. What an amazing conversation. There's so much, dude. So much. We're going to have you on for, another one for sure.
Or you could just come out to Sales Boost and see us and all our homies out there together. We'll definitely get some more content out, but I'm so excited for the show coming up. The lineup of the speakers, the event where it's at. I'm stoked for the event. I'm thankful to have been able to get on tonight with our community closers, have a dope conversation, and I really hope that we see everyone watching or listening out at Sales Boost this year.
There it is, man. There it is. I'm stoked too, dude. It's going to be a blast. So make sure you make it out there, guys. Community with Closers every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. We will see you next week with an amazing, amazing conversation. Thanks again, Dave, for being on.
Appreciate it.
Have an amazing night. Take care, everybody.
Later, guys.